I will not be that considerate about myself.
Good morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Elton couldn't be here, so she's standing in for Elton. Usually I have to tell Elton to sit down so we can get started.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Energy level. I'm not hearing the energy level I want.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A little bit. This is what, meeting 237 of TMG, the Mac Group, something like that?
Doesn't say that.
Mr. Turner, what number are we? 236. 236, okay. I'll take 236. My apologies for not being here last week. 238? Okay, it is 238.
I'm at 239.
My apologies for not being here last month. I had both a funeral and a memorial service to attend. So, and for those of you who whined and said I wasn't here to run the meeting, I would remind you that I've only missed 2 meetings. Okay, in 22 years. One, other than weather, when nobody shows up. One was for my daughter's wedding, and one was for a funeral of a very, very dear friend. So I think I've got my priorities straight. So with that said, Mr. Kirtner, do we have any people visiting us today? Or new members? I'm making
No, we'll
note.
go for it.
Nine.
Now, if you work with nonprofit agencies and you deal with volunteers, I've been told you should not refer to them as your deranged minions, even if they are. Okay, so we've got Guillermo Leal. Okay, this part of the meeting is called the welcome. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to stand up, introduce yourself to the group, and you're going to tell them what you do with Apple equipment or want to do with Apple equipment, because sometimes we have PC users show up, and anything else you think is important for them to know about you as a human being.
Okay. I am currently a Filemaker developer at Wright State School of Medicine. And I'm here because Mike is here, and I didn't know you guys existed.
Okay.
But I go to a Columbus users meeting that Mike
Okay.
goes to. Actually, he's currently the main honcho of that.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a weird thing because I was telling him I used to live 2.5 blocks away from here,
Yeah.
this church. And I pass this church every Saturday and Sunday to go to exercise class, but I never knew you guys were here. As far as Macintosh, I've been using them since, 82 or so. I used to be a school teacher, and I was good with computers. Anyway, long story made short. I also helped set up my wife's business. She has a advertising design company that runs on Macs, and I think basically Mac.
Okay. So you are Apple-based as opposed to Microsoft-based in at least half of what you do.
Yeah. I mean, we have to do both.
Okay, you're doing Linux?
And the nice thing about FileMaker is that it
Yeah.
does both.
Yeah. And are you doing Linux at all? Any sort of?
Not directly.
Okay.
I mean,
How long have you been out of the med school?
6 years.
Okay. So you wouldn't have known Harvey Siegel then when he was out there.
No.
Yeah, Harvey's no longer with us. Okay. Weekend intervention program. Is that,
Oh, yeah.
That was his baby.
I have done little bit of work for them.
Okay. Yeah, but that was the founder of that program, and of course Harvey was out of Harvard, and my main dissertation advisor was buds with him, and so when I moved to Dayton, that's how I ended up working at Wright State University Weekend Intervention School program, med school.
Yeah. And the med school is mainly in Mac.
Yeah, I know, and I keep telling them they should hire me, or education should hire me, and they just isn't happening. So. Okay, thank you. Now, when we do our break, if people approach you, they're just trying to make you feel welcome. If they ask for money, just... What's wrong with that? Okay.
Hey, I think we should get the church an electronic billboard, to say, hey, we're here. If he's lived here all this time and moved, drove by and didn't even know we were here.
Okay, well, I'll have that conversation with Don Bennett, who's our conduit
Facilities
with
guy.
the church.
They actually have one, we just need to buy some time on it. Your custodial crew this morning did a sales pitch on things that need to be paid for around here. So we'll have that conversation. I think
Well,
somewhere.
we do have little macro business cards you can stick up in grocery stores.
If they're hard to see from the street.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say this.
What we need is a big flag.
I'm going to institute control at this point.
Right.
All right. So the next thing we do after our welcome, and there was nobody else, correct, that we had visiting, etc. The next thing we do after the welcome is we just talk about what the program is going to be. The main presentation, we have an outside presenter, came in from Columbus, okay, and it's going to be on Filemaker. And we'll talk more about Mr. Beargie when his time comes to present. And Filemaker is a database, machine independent. It runs on Microsoft operating systems, it runs on Apple operating systems. And it's not just a database, I'll just say this much, it can also be used as a web interface. So if you have large amounts of information that you need to vend via a website, Filemaker can be the engine that facilitates that. The Kettering Foundation, which is local here today, Virginia Kettering Foundation, World Peace, or as I say, Swirled Peas, they use Filemaker to allow people that are on their website to access their very large archive of printed publications in PDF form or to add. Okay, so don't just think database when you think Filemaker. Okay, so with that said, and then Bill Howe will be moderating our novice group today. And I may be bopping in between depending on what's going on. And did you have anything you need to tell them about what we're doing in novice group today, Bill?
Answers questions, whatever.
Yeah, okay. So, and Bill's good at that. In some ways better than I am. All right. The next thing would be news you need to know. So the first thing I want to tell you is there's a sort of a joke going around about the new operating system from Apple called Mavericks, the one that's free. Some people are not happy with some of the features that were put in or features that were taken out, and or insufficiencies of security. SMB stack's not working right, FTP not working right, secure FTP not working right. So the current joke is Mavericks, the operating system that's worth what you paid for. Okay. So my current recommendation is not to upgrade to Mavericks. If you haven't already, to maybe just stay in a holding program until the next update comes out for Mavericks. And maybe at that point they'll have some other deficiencies rectified. Does anybody else have anything that they want to talk about in terms of news? Yes, George?
There's a whole lot of news. Maybe there's going to be an Apple store out of the green.
Groundless, baseless rumors. No, it will never happen. Okay. So I get a call, and it's somebody from HR at Apple. And they say, we're going to be opening a store, and we've got these 22 positions that are open, and this is the website. And they sent me an email then to follow up. And these are the 22 positions that are open. So it has been confirmed that Apple is, as we speak, creating an Apple store at the Green. Okay. If you know where Mactown at the Green is, if you think of that block, and Mactown is sort of being in the southeast corner, the Apple store is going to be on the west edge of that block. And Mactown will be closing their green store. It's not clear to me what their other plans are. Someone told me there was a radio report yesterday on WHIO, which means I'm probably not going to believe it, because if you tell me the snow's going to kill me, that they were going to open a store further south. So I don't know what that means.
I was in, that's in the paper this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, removed it.
The article in the paper this morning, said that they were going to consolidate into their Kingsbridge for Miami Town store temporarily, and then try to find a new location someplace south of it for a new store in the near future.
Okay. So the backstory to all that is, Mactown is owned by a divorced couple. All right. Now, Jason, who was running the operation, is no longer running the operation. His ex-wife, Heather, is running the operation. Before they did that, here's the keys. If you think you can run it better, you do it. Jason was in negotiations for a store down at Austin Lane. Or to be more precise, the developer of Austin Lane had approached him to put in a store there. So I'm thinking that's probably where they would put one in. Yeah.
Is that depot still outside?
Okay, and then there's some other stuff here. Okay, thank you, Kathy. So anyway, so we've got something interesting coming up, an Apple store in there that would probably be opening in the fall.
Okay, I was going to ask you, does anybody have a timeline?
In the fall. Did you actually go into the store to see what they were doing, or did you just cruise by?
No, I was there when, a lot of people were around. I didn't go there at midnight. So.
Okay, so you were just driving by. Okay. Cheesecake Factory, is that where you were?
No,
No, okay.
across the street.
Okay. Yes, Kathy?
Why would Apple do that to one of their customer stores?
Because they feel that that's a good retail location for them. The other thing to keep in
So it's not
mind.
a franchise?
No.
No.
Okay. Details you probably don't need to know, but I will give them to you anyway. Way back when, originally there was an Apple value-added reseller by the name of Joe Weingarten, and he had Weingarten Gallery. Okay. Later on, he branched it out into franchises. So at the very height of Weingarten Gallery, there were 25, maybe even 32 Mac stores across the U.S. where Joe Weingarten was doing their central buying for them. Okay. Now, Joe goes through a divorce, there's some other things that happen, and he decides he needs to sort of simplify his life a little bit, so he started to franchise those operations and sell them off to the people who were using it, but he'd still do the buying. Okay. Those stores are under a grandfathered legal agreement, because Joe also got the value-added resellers of Apple, these independent businessmen, to sue Apple when Apple started to do Apple stores. Okay. All right. The store at the Green is a different corporation than the Kingsbridge store. The Kingsbridge store is the descendant of the original Weingarten Gallery on Congress Park Drive. Actually, Joe Weingarten's basement was the original one.
Throws it back into his car.
Okay, so this operation that they have in Greene County is not covered under that agreement. Okay. And I don't want to go into what the financial agreement, but Joe's a very smart guy. When the Apple store went in Cincinnati, gotta get my directions right, he closed the store there. Apple gave him a large chunk of change and a piece of the first year gross of the Apple store. When they put a store in Memphis, where Joe had a franchise, they paid him to close his store, and he got a slice of the first year gross from there. And it went on and on and on, several different stores. So I'm thinking that Heather Gamble, who's the owner-operator of MacTown right now, probably isn't going to get that rich of an agreement, but she will get something. Yes, Dan?
Why do they pick a place where it's kind of difficult to carry a decent-sized computer in and out?
Because they want you to buy an iPhone. Or an iPad. You know, why would they open the green location originally? Because it was a place where they could sell a lot of stuff. And they did, if you notice, they never did service at the Greens, the MacTown at the Green. The service was with the other corporation, was enabled to do service. That was only at Kings Ridge Drive, where it was relatively easy to walk it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's an imperfect world.
I would think it's such to be Mac Depot too.
I have not talked to Greg Curting about this. There are some things that Mac Depot does that MacTown does not do. Where they will facilitate selling your older equipment and such, that MacTown never really did very well, and Greg Curting does very well. And then also the training program actually was better at Mac Depot than it was at MacTown. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What I would say to you is, when the Apple Store opens up, go check it out. If they provide you with the goods and services you need and want at the price you need and want, go to the Apple Store. If you're more comfortable going to Mac Depot and Greg Curting, go to Mac Depot. If you're more comfortable going to MacTown, because they've really taken care of you over the years, then go to MacTown. That's the American system. We have choices. Okay. Another thing just to be aware of with the Mavericks and iOS security problems that were in iOS 6 and Mavericks, there are updates for both of those now. So there's an update for Mavericks, 10.9.2 I want to say, and then iOS it's 7.02 I want to say at this point. There's also an update for iOS 6. And one other thing to add, if you have an Apple TV, you're also running iOS on that. If it's an Apple TV, second generation or above, and you want to update your software on that if you haven't already. Okay? Because those were security problems. So that you want to pay attention to. And let's see.
On the first sheet.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
There's a little newsletter that we.
I'll just make it simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just verifying.
Latest version of Safari, which is a web browser. You know, you're going to go to World Wide Web, Safari, the Apple web browser. There are some things in the latest version it's not quite working right, so they need to clean those up. My understanding is when Mavericks 10.9.3 comes out, everything will be fixed. Sorry, I'm flashing back to when the IBM salesman would come in and tell me how the next generation of the TSO is going to fix all this problems. Okay. Another thing to be aware of, virus protection, malware protection on the Mac. Things are changing a little bit out there on the internet. It's getting to be more and more like a Wild West. So we're going to have a program, maybe not next month, but the following month, and it'll be specifically on what you need to do on your Mac to secure it from viruses, malware, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So belt and suspender approach. The other thing is, hold on one second. The other thing is, there are a large number of attempted exploits now that are out there for Mac OS X. Most of them are pretty lame. They're not really very effective at screwing up the machine. One of them to be aware of is it's actually a form of adware. It's called Genio, Genio. So when we do that program on malware, antivirus stuff, we'll talk about some of the things you can do, some utilities you can have in your computer that make it real easy to clean this stuff up. Okay? All right, Rod.
Question. You're talking about the May time period?
Yeah.
For this- What's Mr. Hess says?
I may do it soon. We're flipping in our head.
No,
Are we
no,
going to
no,
do a program on bootable USB drives in April, or are we going to do antivirus in April?
Question I asked, is it going to be something that we can get to after the fact? Because I know I won't be here in May.
Absolutely. I would remind you and the rest of the audience of two things. One, we videotape the meetings so you can get a video of the meeting. And the other thing we do is, if you provide us with a non-military email address, we will email the program notes to you.
Just retired from the military. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I had all these people, okay, I gotta ask, how, did Don Baldick do a really good job last month?
Yes.
Should I step back and let him do? No, okay.
Either way, take turns.
Yeah.
Don's not here today, right?
Huh?
Don's not here?
Don is not here. Don
Show of hands,
is-
who wants Don to do?
Remind me not, there's a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don is at the Power of the Pen competition where he's going to be a judge. He very nicely, Don put off, he was going to be at a fire range as this range safety officer, and he found somebody else to stand in for him so he could moderate the club meeting last month. So he was, it wasn't just one of these things where he wasn't doing anything. He had to reshuffle his schedule. So I hope you treated him okay. Came over to the house and he was crying. Just wondered what you guys have done. Okay, anyway, so be aware that in the same way, if you're running a Microsoft operating system, you don't necessarily click on anything if it says it's free and it's going to make your machine. Same thing for the Mac now. When you're on the internet and it's free software, you don't necessarily just click and say, yeah, okay. And we'll talk about that more when we do your presentation. Okay? And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Flash updates. I know you're going to be shocked, but Adobe Flash needs to be updated again. Java, not so much. Java is secure at Java 7. There's no updates for that at this point. Java 6 is Java 6. And then I would remind you the proper way to update your Flash. You get that, some sort of dialogue. Let's say you're on an internet website and it says you need to update Flash. You don't click in the box there where it says go ahead and update. What you do is you go to System Preferences. You bring up your control panes. Don's nodding his head. He knows the drill. And at the bottom row of your system panes, you're going to see the one for Flash. And you'll click on that. Sometimes it's easier to show instead of tell. So we go to System Preferences. So bottom row where it says Flash Player. You're going to click on that. It's going to show you this panel. And then you're going to click on the Advanced button up there. That'll show you this screen. And you're going to click this button that says Check Now. So what's the difference between these two methods? In one, you're clicking on a button that's from some website and you have no idea what that button actually does. As opposed to, be kind, Don. Don's chuckling back there. Is he on meds because of the, yeah, okay. So you're going to click that Check Now button. So it's your Mac talking to Adobe. And so your Mac is talking directly to adobe.com, the Adobe website, where they're looking at your machine and they're showing you whether you need to update or not. So if I do that right now, if I click Check Now, and in this case it's telling me that my plugin version 12.0.0.7, sounds like an internet address, is okay. And that's because I had updated it recently. Okay, but that's the preferred method to do it. So you know what's at the other end of the pipeline.
Bill,
Yes?
since Don's on meds, it would today be a good time to ask him about doing an iMovie presentation?
Hey, Don, would you like to do maybe a presentation about some of the iLife programs?
Yeah, but I'm already into new stuff. I'm way back at 6 and 7. I'm so
We
full
can
of
correct that.
My computer's too old.
Okay.
that. I prefer.
How about, well, okay. Yeah, he wasn't built up enough. All right, but those are some things to be aware of.
Bill,
Yes.
will Bodega do the same thing that you just went through?
Bodega, which is a free application which will check to see if you have third-party programs that need updates, does not do Flash.
Okay.
Same thing with Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office, you have to have one of the programs launched and you're going to your help menu and you're having it checked for updates. Right. So these are separate methods of updating their products. Bodega for third-party shareware products, Flash, Adobe Flash, you use this to update it, and then for Microsoft, you're using their update to do it. I know. It gets confusing after a while. But if you're going to have your machine connected to the internet, it's a good thing to make sure that things are appropriately set up. Meanwhile, the folks that are using iPhones and tablets are going to like, we don't have to worry about this stuff. Yeah, just wait. It'll happen. It'll happen. Especially if you're a Droid user. Okay, at this point I'm going to say we're finished with news, and we'll go on to help desk. If anybody had any major issues. I don't do marital. We only do computer issues. Okay, Jim, okay, now you got your hand out. So it was marital? No.
What's your question?
Elton Hopper is not here today. Usually Elton always has a question for me. He's off doing choir practice at this point. Anybody else that had issues this month? Or a question that was asked last month that didn't get resolved? Okay, I'm going to go to Ron, and then I'm going to go to Phil.
Just, it's something that started happening yesterday, and maybe my MacBook is wearing out, but I found when I'm in applications like Filemaker or Microsoft Word, when I've been hitting my space bar, it's taking me to the Finder window. And I said, that's interesting. Maybe my keyboard's wearing out.
It could be that, or it's sending the wrong signal, or it could be that you may have created a keyboard shortcut by accident. Okay, so one of the things I would do is go into System Preferences and be looking at how old of an operating system are you running?
I don't recall.
Okay, you're off of the
I'm
Apple
a few
II
versions back.
and you're, okay, I'm kidding.
It's still working okay. Except this is a new irritant. When I'm typing away and I hit a space, I go to the Finder.
Okay. The easiest way to check on that is if you have a USB keyboard you can plug into the computer.
Try that.
Try the other keyboard and see if the same thing happens when you hit that keyboard.
Well, I haven't even taken the time to reboot yet because I got too many windows
Okay.
open. I don't want to.
But notice what I'm doing here. I'm thinking if the problem is the keyboard, I'll plug another keyboard in and see if it acts the same way. If it does, then that says it's not keyboard related. It's something with a keyboard shortcut or something else that's set up.
Sticky control key.
Could be a control key set up. Yes, go ahead.
No,
You
I
a
just had
question.
a question, but I've got to get in line with the others, sorry.
No, I'm giving you priority.
Oh, okay. Has anyone heard or know anything about this ad I've seen for, it's called Touchfire Keyboard for the iPad? I keep getting ads on it, and I went out and checked on it.
Do you know who do you have any, our ambassador, do you know about this at all?
I don't know who the vendor is, but I have seen it.
Okay.
It's like a piece of plastic that you lay across the keyboard,
Yeah,
or
okay.
across your
But
screen.
it is for real, yeah.
Right, yeah, it's a real product.
Yeah.
Is it
It's
like
like
some of the
20
prototype
bucks.
German systems where they've got the hologram and the virtual
Yeah,
keyboard? Or is
well-
it a real device that you tap? Okay.
No, it's actually a physical thing that you
So
put
it's a
across.
membrane keyboard.
Yeah, it's some type of membrane, but
Yeah,
I don't know if it's if the keys are, I really don't know.
It's
whether
supposed to feel like a real
So
keyboard.
the
doesn't it?
answer is
Yeah.
no,
No.
I don't know about it, and I'm going to, if I give you homework, Simon?
I think what she was saying also is that
Yeah.
the keys are raised a little
Okay.
bit, so that you actually get the feel of a real keyboard
Oh.
versus the the flat surface of the.
Like you're on
keyboard.
an IBM 101?
That's what it says on the ad,
Beta
yeah.
key?
I think it still uses a virtual keyboard, but it just
Yes.
lays these tactile
That's
things
right.
on top of
Okay.
it.
The thing I was worried about is the ad that I get on my computer where I read about it. It has the strangest return address, so you think, well, maybe this is malware or really
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
And I tried to run their video that showed what it did, and it wouldn't run. So I had real suspicious about it. That's why I was curious.
Okay, so
If it was for real.
Colonel Georges, you have seen this? Okay.
Okay, then it
Do
is
you
for
mind
real.
checking them out, just seeing what they're, okay.
Oh, thank
So we'll ask
Thank
Mark
you.
Georges to do it.
Something from me?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Okay, you have your hand raised.
Well, I do.
No?
Okay, we share an Apple site, so we're
Apple ID?
Apple ID.
Okay.
So everything comes in on both of our computers,
Okay.
his mail, my mail.
Mhm.
But on the top here, every so often there's something that flashes across here,
Mhm.
and it looks really exciting to me, and I hit it, and I'm in his email, and he's getting angry with me.
Okay.
It is kind of a marital problem.
Okay. It's called, so what they're talking about is they've got, I noticed that he has the brand new iPad mini with Retina display, and
I've got Apple too.
she has an iPad 2. Okay. Both of them are running iOS 7. So what you're seeing is what's called notifications.
Okay.
So when he's getting an email, it's notifying you.
Mhm.
There is, in the settings app, you can go to notifications and you can tell it what you want it to tell you and what you don't want it to tell you. So you can control that.
Thank you.
Okay, you can also have it do like this sound if it's, one thing. If it's one thing, and if it's, a weather alert from WHIO, it's snowpocalypse, it'll give you another sound.
Raspberries.
Okay, raspberry, whatever. Okay. Just so you know, we are not out of the woods yet. We are going to have one more hit of flurries, supposedly sometime next week.
Which one is it? It's giving me his email.
Notifications, and right now you're including mail. You could take that out. You would exclude mail from notifications. All right, let's go. Phil Longo in the back. Tell them.
On the iPod, like this, or just maybe not 7 yet, this can't use 7, but when it was set up, I had a fairly long access password.
Yeah.
That you have to use every time you get an app to put on it, you have to put the password in.
Yeah.
Is there any way of changing that password or doing it, I guess, automatically when you hit a certain key, shortcut to put the password in rather than try to put it in with a little keyboard all the time?
In terms of having a shortcut and such, there's a way to do it, but it's sort of rolling the dice. It's not 100% all the time. There's another way to do it, and that is if you're running iOS 7 on your mobile device. Well, the cloud, you can turn on keychain in the cloud. It will remember your password for your Apple ID, your iTunes ID, and whenever you're tapping that you want to bring another app in, it will automatically provide the password and the account. I don't recommend that at this time.
I see.
They need to do a little bit more of the back-end security stuff before I'm comfortable with it.
I wondered if you could even change the password.
Yes, yes. What I recommend is if you're going to change the password for your Apple ID,
No,
which
this ID, for this machine, not Apple ID. This has an ID also, has a password for it.
so it comes up with a lock screen.
No,
It's admin
Once
it's
again, it has to
admin
do with
password.
strictly, if you get a download for any reason, it's going to ask you for the ID or the password for the machine, not the one you get that's only 4 digits at the beginning.
Okay.
Not that internal one that you use.
So you have an application and it's got an update and you want to bring it in to that device.
Yep.
When you're providing that password, that's for what's called an Apple ID or an iTunes Store ID, or, yes it is.
No, that may be.
Yeah.
But it's not what I have on the machine here. It's about this long, because they told me I needed so many digits originally, but I found out you can change that.
Yeah.
If you can't change it, I need to have it shorter, so the process can be much faster and
Okay.
less complicated.
All right, so what I'm going to say is, I'm totally confused at this point.
Good.
What I'm going to suggest, yeah, I know, you do this, just, yeah, okay. At the break,
Okay.
where you and I can look at the device at the same time, and I can look and see exactly what you're saying, and then we're communicating instead of just talking to each
Okay.
other. Okay. Once again, I want you to notice something. I don't know everything. And you don't know everything. But the whole idea of a user group is you ask a question, you get enough people in the room, somebody's going to have an answer.
Has your wife ever heard you say that?
Yes, many times.
Many
Many times.
Was she awake?
So when my wife, okay, I have the typical communication issues with my partner that most people do. When my wife wanted to get a digital camera, I started telling her about digital cameras. And she was like, forget it, I'm not going to listen. So what I did was, I went to a member of the user group, Jim Fortuna, who's moved out of state since then, who worked at a camera store, and I asked him to come over and talk to her about digital cameras, tell her what she needs to know. Honest to goodness, he said the same stuff I said. But because it wasn't me, communication occurred. Okay.
It's like trying to teach your own kid how to drive. Don't ever do that.
Yeah. Or you've got your cell phone, older person, cell phone. I'll ask my daughter, how do you do this on the cell phone? And she'll go, dun, 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 dun. And I'm going like, and she'll say, oh, just give it to me.
Yeah, I know.
Boom, 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 boom. And then I go, well, that isn't going to solve the problem. I don't know how to do it. So instead, I'll go to one of my friends. I have younger friends. I'll say, if you have this kind of cell phone and you want to do this, how do you do it? And they'll walk me through the process, and then I document it so I know how to do it in the future. So the main point that I want to emphasize, though, is that's the reason why you're here. Even if you find the presentation to be not of interest to you, though I think you'll find Filemaker very interesting, you're here because you may have the answer for the other person. So I appreciate your presence. And you also keep me honest. I got my honesty keeper up and up. Yes, Bill.
One problem I have, I've had Mavericks from the very first day, and I've had a little bit of problems the very first day, but after that it's fine. But the one problem is with Mavericks is they're trying to make it be more like iOS 7, more like the iPhone, iPod Touch, and the iPad. So that's the problem, you know, while they're not integrating as well yet, but hopefully they will. But apparently default on Mavericks, the scroll bar is not there until you need it, and sometimes I couldn't find the vertical scroll bar, and it's extremely aggravating, and it's happened to me twice. And I fixed it, but I couldn't remember how I did it. But there's a setting for changing the scroll bar. If you've had that problem on Mavericks, you can set the scroll bar so it's always there like it always was before. Yes. And I forgot what the control.
It's in system preferences.
Yeah.
And
this machine is problem. It's extremely aggravating, and without the scroll bar being there regularly.
Again, just so everyone hears it one more time, and let's see, I'm going to say it's in
that one.
General.
Yeah.
So you'll notice I have it show scroll bars always, and it's a radio button that you click on. The other main complaint that I've heard quite a lot of is people who have instituted workflows based on colored folders, what was called in previous versions of Mac OS X labels. You know, so you had your different colored labels, And now that's been changed with a tagging structure. And there's a lot of people that thought that they should have instituted tagging but kept labels as it was. Yes, Ron?
I've been having problems with two-finger moving the screen up and down sometimes, and I wonder if anybody has any, I shine my fingers on my pants and then they work a little bit better, or I lick my fingers.
Okay, are we talking about on a tablet, or are we talking about on a magic
On
trackpad?
both, on an iPad and on my MacBook Pro touchpad.
Yeah. Well, what I find works for me is either I'm using a stylus on a tablet to get that to recognize it, or instead of pressing the pads on the tips of the fingers, I'm touching with the nail. So I'm letting my nails go out a little bit. For some reason, that seems to work for me. Yes, Rich, do you have advice?
Yeah, I've found that what I'm doing wrong is I will inadvertently get the third finger in there, which is the
which is a multi-gesture.
Yeah, it's like it'll switch window or goofiness like that.
Or you're doing you're touching the surface, this is on a tablet, you're touching it and then pulling your fingers away, because we're so used to tapping, instead of pressing and holding and then doing the pinch or whatever it is that we're doing. Okay. The other thing is, if you're putting winter weather and you're putting lotion or that on the fingers, that can also cause problems, though aloe seems to make the connectivity work better. So again, it's not a pressure thing, it's actually an electrical charge thing.
Capacitance.
Yeah. Okay, last dip at the well. Okay.
Okay, it just reminded me.
Yeah.
On my regular computer, Mac Mini, I have a wireless mouse and a Logitech Solar keyboard. But anyway, I will be working away and I'll do something and all of a sudden it'll magnify on my screen. And I don't want it to magnify. I can't figure out how to make it zoom out other than just, shut it out and start it over again. Do you know what I could be hitting that suddenly makes it get bigger?
Well,
now this is not on the tablet, this is on the computer.
Yes, this is on a Mac. All right. What you want to be doing is going into keyboard.
Touchpad.
Yeah, touchpad, thank you.
I don't use a touchpad.
You just use a keyboard?
Just a keyboard.
And a mouse?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go back to mouse setting. But you want to be looking into either keyboard, mouse, or trackpad. Obviously, I don't have a mouse on this.
Yeah, I would check that out.
Okay.
That's where I go to
The number one thing that happens is if you've got a mouse and you've got a scroll wheel, or you've got the little eraser thing that you have on the Apple Magic Mouse, where you press it and it takes you into dashboard, that's the number one irritation that people tell me about. And you can deactivate that in the mouse control panel.
Okay,
What
I'll
I
check
would
it.
suggest
It
is
suddenly magnifies. I'm reading something and suddenly it just boom.
Big guy sitting next to you,
Yeah.
give it to him as a honeydew to figure out what's going on.
That's an idea. Thank you for
You're
taking
right, I
my.
haven't seen that particular problem from her yet, so.
Yeah, we got to validate our existence by carrying the package.
I still have my question.
Okay, sure.
On an iMac,
Yeah.
with a second monitor, where is the memory that drives the second monitor?
It depends on what your video card is.
Whatever's in the iMac.
Okay, well, is it, okay, make and how old is the iMac?
4 to 5 years.
Okay, 4 to 5 years. So you probably have an NVIDIA in it. That's going to be in the embedded graphics
So
module
it's
from
the
NVIDIA.
memory of the graphics card.
Right, so it's going to be in that memory that's in that card.
How do I get something in there to test that memory?
That one, I got to research. I know how to do it if it's a standalone card.
On the second monitor,
Yeah.
the bottom quarter freezes, and the top one sets off to the right, and I get a big black spot where it came from, and I can't move anything anywhere, so I have disconnected it. I'm running with a single display right now, which is annoying.
Okay. well, it's not just annoying, yeah, we'll go to Bill for a
What
second.
about the video settings for the second monitor in the display preferences?
Have we set them?
Because it may be at too high of a refresh rate, or not the right resolution for that. And it may not, the card, if it's old enough, it may not, is it a new monitor?
About 2 years.
Okay. It may be that the video card doesn't support the resolution, so you may have to back the resolution down.
No, it
Because it
was.
may not have enough memory, enough RAM in the video card to handle both of those and then one resolution.
Back up a step.
It was
okay?
working.
It was working,
Yeah,
and now
okay.
it's
And
not.
a week ago, it changed.
Okay.
Okay.
So the
Tech-
first thing
Tech
I would
Tool
do
says
is
all my
I would go
memory is
in
good.
and I'd do a parameter reset on the monitor. You know, go into the menu for that monitor and take it back to factory settings, because it could be something that's in there.
I can drive
And then
it.
I would reset them up again.
I can drive it from another computer and it works properly.
That would point that you've got a problem with the video memory that's in your embedded graphics card.
Do you have another monitor you can hook into that computer, that iMac?
We can swap out the test.
Yeah,
Got to dig around a little.
because I've had some, flat screen monitors go funky haywire.
The other thing is, when you move that monitor that's flaking out on you to the other machine, did you use the same cable that was connecting it to the first?
Same cable, different adapter because it has a different size
Okay.
plug on it.
So the adapter is a variable that you also
The
need to
adapter is
consider.
possible.
I've had flat screens come back to me saying that they were acting up. I hooked it to my laptop and I'm still using it, so it's kind of hard to figure out. But I would try swapping out, if you've got another monitor, see if it does it on that. Sometimes it takes a long time for it to be hooked up and get warmed up, and over time the monitor will start to act up. So I would swap it out if you can and see if it acts up over time and leave it on for a while.
Another VGA monitor. I'll have to look. Okay. I think I got rid of all of that.
So, we have time constraints, so I
Yeah, I was
think we
thinking about that,
handled
zapping the primer.
everybody that had a major question. All right, so we're going to say help desk is over. Over on the donuts table, there are some single button USB mice. There is a 40 gigabyte Maxtor hard drive. It's a bare drive, but it's in a case, a box that says it's 100 gigabyte. It's a 40 gigabyte. And some other video adapters. They've been donated to the club, but the person who donated them said sell them to the members and the proceeds will go to the club. So at the break, take a look. If there's something you want there, the piece of paper that's with it tells you what the prices are for the various things. And I think it's time to do raffle.
Do all members have their ticket?
Bill? I got a mallet in my hand. Okay. Barb?
Oh, wow. 9,000. You know what, I do this.
Okay. So, TMG is very pleased to present Mike Beargie from Anvil, Dataworks. He came in from Columbus. He could be doing other stuff than talking to us. So I want you to be very nice to him, ask some intelligent questions or unintelligent questions. Because he's a developer. He's used to what the users are like. And so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mike now.
He has nothing to do with blacksmithing.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't come up with a name, just work for the company. Hello everyone, my name is Mike Beargie. I'm coming from Columbus, although Anvil Dataworks is based out of the Baltimore, DC area. I work from home. I'm lucky enough to work from home. I started working for Anvil at the end of September of 2013. After working for a previous company for 6 years, so it's been quite a change for me. And I'm happy to come here today to share a little bit about Filemaker. So what is the Filemaker thing anyways? Well, before we get started on that, a little more about myself. I am a Filemaker 11, 12, and soon to be 13 certified developer. I've been developing in Filemaker exclusively since 2006, before which I was doing IT management, web development, web design, and commercial art design as well. I've got a 2-year degree in commercial art design, and I've got a 4-year degree in IT management. I am a man of many hobbies. I brew my own beer, I make my own soap, I do woodworking, wood carving, and wood-burned artwork. So I could be doing any of those things today, but Filemaker is also a hobby as well as a profession for me. So I'm happy to share it with you guys today. I'm going to ask to kind of save questions for the end. I've got a couple slides to go through and a couple of demo presentations to give you as well before I'll field questions. And also at the end I'll have a slide with my contact information if you have any questions after this meeting. So what is Filemaker? Filemaker is actually owned by Apple. It's a subsidiary of Apple. And not a lot of people know that, which is surprising to me because if you're into Apple, you should be into all of Apple's products. It's been around since 1990 in its Filemaker 1 and above form. Before that, it was around previously as a number of different things like a nutshell or something like that. Way back when. So it's actually been around since the 80s. It passed hands a couple times. Apple picked it up when they picked up Claris way back in the early 90s. And it's been going strong ever since then. The current version, released in December of 2013, is Filemaker 13. The last major change was when version 12 came out. They changed the file format. It was a big, huge deal. They changed the rendering engine. They changed everything about it. And what FileMaker is at its core is an RDBMS. Now, does anybody know what that means? No. Somebody was kind of wondering. So, Relational Database Management System. So, FileMaker is a program to make databases. As opposed to, I was explaining a little bit the difference, whereas Excel is a great program for making a single page worksheet where you plug in a bunch of numbers and formulas and results. This is not a spreadsheet program. It can do spreadsheet-like functions, but it's designed to make actual database software where you have data, you're entering data, you're querying data. So it rivals things like SQL and Crystal Reports. Fox Pro is another rival. People compare it to Microsoft Access, although Access is a really terrible program, so I don't know why they would compare FileMaker to it, because it's so much better. All right, so now that you know what FileMaker is, loosely, why FileMaker? So if you've got a need for software for your business, or even you want to tool around with software for yourself at home, and you looked at off-the-shelf software, you've looked at web applications, and neither of them really does what you want it to do, and you want to customize your own thing to your own workflow, FileMaker is a great program to do that. The speed of development is unparalleled by other platforms, because the interface is done completely in what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG. Pick and choose your fields, drop them on the layout, you've got a screen ready to go and use. It's got built-in cross-platform support, and that supports the PC, Mac, server on both Mac and PC, and mobile on iOS, on iPads and iPhones. And most recently, which will be in my next couple of slides, is a web application as well built in. So now it can support Android mobile devices over a web interface as well. FileMaker uses what's called zero-loss deployment, and what that means is that I can take my file from my computer here and put it on my iPad. I don't have to do anything else, it just works. So there's a single file format, I can pass that file, I can go host it on a server and have 50 people connect to it instantly with zero loss of development time. So I develop one thing and it's available in a number of options to connect to. The other great thing about FileMaker is it integrates with other data sources. So any of you have ever worked with Crystal reports, it's a front end for like a SQL database, and it allows you to build your queries and run reports. FileMaker can act in the same way through a number of different connections. So it can connect to SQL databases, it can connect to Oracle databases, it can connect to MySQL databases to grab web information off somebody's website. There's a variety of different options where you can use FileMaker as a front end for a different database on the back end. Also, as Bill mentioned before, you can use FileMaker as its own database to provide data to web-based applications and other applications as well. So you can use Crystal reports as a front end for a FileMaker database, which is kind of ridiculous, but okay. And lastly, it's built on modern technologies at point. Version 12 was pretty much rewritten from the ground up. It renders its layouts in HTML5 and CSS. I'm going to use some technical catchphrases here, so don't worry about it. But the back end and the front end are built on a solid modern code platform. So what that means is it's going to be around to stay. They care about it enough that they've retooled it in version 12, enough for its longevity for the next 10 or 15 years, and then they'll probably retool it again. It's a big enough platform that it's going to be around. And it's actually one of the only subsidiaries of FileMaker that makes actual software, whereas Apple is doing in-house their iLife stuff. Like this is FileMaker's their own separate thing, but they're still owned by FileMaker. So what is so great about the new version FileMaker 13? 13 introduced a brand new technology called FileMaker WebDirect. And what WebDirect is it takes that zero loss deployment model and moves it to the web. So you can now give users a FileMaker experience as if they were using the FileMaker desktop program through a web browser, which is, I'll show it, but it's just unparalleled. There's no other software that does this in the database world. And it allows you to make beautiful software on the web with no effort of web development. I don't have to write one line of PHP, one line of HTML, nothing. I just host the file, go to the website, log into it, it's good to go. So WebDirect replaces an older kind of similar product called Instant Web Publishing that was available in versions 12 and before. Instant Web Publishing was designed in like version 7, I think, 7 or 8. And it never really looked great. It got you your data on the web, but couldn't make it look pretty. WebDirect gives you the whole package, allows you to take your layouts as they look on the desktop application and put it into a website for people to use. Another thing that came along in FileMaker 12 and has been improved on in 13 is the use of themes. So in the last slide I talked about beautiful software. FileMaker really is good-looking software. For those of you that have been using computers for 25 years, you know database applications are plain gray windows with plain white boxes and plain gray buttons. And that's just how it's been. FileMaker has really blown that out of the water, so to speak, by using themes. So there's many themes built in to choose from. There's themes geared towards mobile platform versus desktop platform. You can now make your own themes, save your own themes, modify the themes, and then resave them as your own theme. So it just looks better than other software you get out there through its use of themes. And lastly, ever since version 11, FileMaker has now been available on iOS. And this is huge because FileMaker Go on the iPad is free. So there's no cost to your users to download FileMaker and access your applications. So it's apps without the App Store, pretty much is what it entails. For me to give a file to somebody to use on their iPad, I don't need to go through Apple's verification process. I don't need to have a developer subscription. I don't need to write one line of Xcode or Cocoa. I don't need to compile my application. I just make my file on my computer, hand it to the user, and they can use it on their iPad as a regular application. The powerful features of the desktop are built into iPad. I'm going to demonstrate some of those a little later on when I pull up the iPad. It allows you to connect to data remotely or use data that's on the device. So I can be out in the field and pulling data from my home office on my iPad, customer data. It's great for IT departments that need to store like passwords and stuff like that in a password protected database. And really, again, I'm going to say this is the third time I think of the slides. I repeat myself a lot. I'm sorry about that. Desktop to the iOS at super speed. So that zero loss deployment model, email a file to somebody, they click, they open it, you're done. No need to compile or anything. Some of the benefits that our customers get at Anvil. So we work with groups as small as 3 people and groups as large as 300 people. The benefits to the customer of using FileMaker are a lower cost of ownership versus a SQL platform or like a Crystal Reports thing, because the software costs less than a SQL server, and the hardware costs less because you're not running SQL Server. But also the development time costs a lot less because we can build things a lot faster because we don't have to code 800 lines just to display one layout on a database. So it ends up equating to a lower cost of ownership. There's also licensing agreements. You can get a subscription-based copy of FileMaker. So rather than paying, for 10 users, paying like $3,000 up front, you're paying $30 a month, and you're getting all the updates of FileMaker. We can customize everything in an application to somebody's specific process. So our customers come to us, they say, we are a door manufacturing company and we want to be able to create all of our quotes and move them into orders and move that into production all in one place. And we're using this very messy Excel spreadsheet right now that's been being developed for 10 years and just isn't working anymore. Can you help us? So we can tailor everything about that software to that customer specific process. You can leverage iOS at a low cost. So once you have the server hardware in place and the correct license pack, you can have tens or hundreds of iPads connecting. So you're not paying really for those users at all any extra. They're just kind of accessing it through their iPad. And brand integration, which for some reason is very important for people. They like seeing their logo on their own software. I don't get it, but it's important enough to be a bullet point in here. And lastly, a little bit more about Anvil ourselves. We use what's called the Agile development methodology. If you're not a software developer or a web developer or an application developer, you're probably not going to know what that means. But pretty much it's a project management method that we use to break up the whole project into smaller cycles that we work on. It's easy for our customers to understand. It's easy for us to forecast and estimate, so we know right off the bat, like I'm in the middle of a project now and we're only 30% through, but we've already used all of our hours for project meetings. So we know that we're going to come in 300% over budget on that one line. So, we're telling the customer, hey, do you want to have less meetings or do you want to shift some hours around? So it allows us to be accurate and it allows us to really, at a glance, give our customers a report where they can see exactly where their project is, exactly how it's going, gives them a good feeling. And we don't end up with those lagging projects. Our completion rate is a lot higher than other places where they're doing ongoing little updates. Okay, is it ready to go now? When we finish a cycle, we know that everything in that cycle is ready to go. and signed off on by our clients. So our project completion rate is pretty good. Last month I completed 3 projects, which is huge for a software development shop. Anvil Agile is used by a lot of larger companies as a software methodology. IBM uses it, Oracle uses it, Cisco, Walmart uses it for their software, in-house software development. So it's out there, it's pretty big. Right, I am to the demonstration portion of this. So after all the boring slides, I tried to keep it short, tried to talk fast. I'm going to have a seat and give a demo. If you can't hear me, just let me know. I'll try to project over everyone's head. So, so this is Filemaker, and what I've done here is I've shown what you can do in about 15 minutes of work from a developer. I made a DVD collection for myself. So Filemaker itself has a bunch of built-in powerful features, you know, different things that you can use. The scripting language is really easy to use. There's a bunch of stuff about FileMaker I'm not really going to go into that it functions very well. So basically in this amount of time, in 15 minutes I've created myself a private DVD collection. Now, what's cool about this is, well, A, it only took 15 minutes for me to make, but B, now that I've made it, I can go do all of those zero loss deployment things I was talking about. So first thing I need to do is upload it to a server. Now, you know, in other database platforms, you've got to, you know, roll it out and, you know, package it and everything and compile it. But in FileMaker, I can just upload it to the server. As long as my password is correct. And that's all I need to do. So this is now hosted on my laptop's also a server. But I don't know if you can read it. Up at the top there, it just says Mike Beargie Anvil in brackets. So this is the hosted copy off my server. So that's as fast as it goes. I mean, now I can call up my friend in Columbus and say, hey, I've got the database hosted. Here's the link to it. You can open it up and, you know, see my movies, and, you know, if you want to borrow any, let me know. There's no delay or anything. It's ready to go. So I am going to demonstrate. First off, I'm going to give you a little behind-the-scenes tour of what the server console looks like here. So FileMaker Server Edition hosts all of your FileMaker files and allows iPads or WebDirect users or desktop application users to connect to that file. At the same time, supported theoretically to an unlimited number of users, but realistically 250 is the limit at any given time. The server console was completely redone in 13, so into a web application as opposed to a previous Java application that had a bad habit of not working after you updated Java to version 7. You can see that I've got, you know, one client currently connected, 2 databases hosted, and 1 schedule, which is my backup schedule. So FileMaker Server will take care of backing up your files. It can do things to your databases on a scheduled script, so I can schedule to email myself a list report at midnight every night of what movies in my collection have been checked out by friends, so to speak. There's log viewing, and there's other things that I won't go into as well. I just wanted to give you that preview. What I am going to show you though in the browser now is WebDirect. So WebDirect, here's my WebDirect homepage, allows me to, like I said, get that FileMaker experience in the browser. So again, I'm going to show you what FileMaker looks like here. You have, your FileMaker menus, file, some buttons here, new record, delete record, find, sort, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to open it up in the web browser. And you can see right away how close that is to the real FileMaker experience. I've got my layout menus, I've got my file menu. And that's without me writing one line of web code. Sorry, does that seem interesting to people? I think it's awesome.
Zero deployment costs, yeah. And they've got the same interface that you've got
pretty much
on the server.
Yeah.
Can they create a new layout to suit them?
You haven't shown how you make one of these things, or
I'm
how
getting to
you
that point in
interact
the
with
demonstration.
these.
This is why I was holding off on questions till the end. So let me finish giving the complete presentation first.
Do the other people have to also have FileMaker, or is this?
No, WebDirect, you do not need to have FileMaker.
It's sort of like a cloud function.
No, you can host your FileMaker server in a cloud and make it a cloud server. But in terms of running it, the server is creating this website and displaying it to the user through a web browser. So there's no, on the user side, there's no FileMaker involved. They just need to go to the website and use your application. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit a record. So I don't know if anybody saw that, but this flashed in the background. So I'm going back to FileMaker now, which this is hosted on the server now. And you'll see that node I just entered in WebDirect is already committed and refreshed automatically in FileMaker. And that's kind of catchphrase to the term FileMaker magic. That's the magic of FileMaker, is you can update, once you've got it hosted on the server, you can update your data in any location, and all of the other locations that are connected, their screens will refresh with the updated display. There's also record locking, so let's say if I'm in here making a change on this record, I go in here and try to make a change. It's making it over here. I'm not quite sure if I played around with record locking. There we go. So it'll handle some record locking for you. I can send a message.
Sorry, gone to lunch.
Yeah, there we go. So in WebDirect, it handles those alerts as well. It auto dismisses as well. So that's, that's FileMaker. That's the FileMaker magic. So what I'm going to do now, my iPad turned off, so let's see. So I'm going to show you. So I've already got this hosted. Now if I can reconnect my Wi-Fi here, because my iPad turned off. I didn't build this program, I just use it. There we go.
You're using AirPlay on your Mac Mini
It's
to
a program
reflector?
called Reflector, yeah.
Reflector back to the Mac.
Full screen for a minute here. So this is my iPad. This is FileMaker Go 13 on your iPad. And like I said, FileMaker Go is a free program. You can just get it out of the App Store. You need FileMaker, the desktop version, to make your files. You can't build files in the iPad version. But on here, so I'm going to go Here's my DVD collection, my file. I'm just opening this out of posts. Not be open past the Albrecht because I'm still connected on WebDirect. There are some C limitations. I'm going to log out of WebDirect here. There we go. So again, with the zero loss deployment here, now I'm on my iPad with this kind of stuff, and it handles things like rotation for you. You go to different records. Here, let's say, but what's cool about this, especially for something like this where I'm at home, I don't need to lug around my largest available MacBook Pro in my living room to enter new movies in. I can go take my iPad now and do all of my data entry, and it's going to show up on my desktop. So I brought a movie, Shaolin Soccer. It's a good one. You should see it. And I can add records right on my iPad. Even spell it. So I can say this is in my second DVD rack. I can do things like take a picture of it. I can do things like scan a barcode. And these are all built-in things that you can do with Filemaker. Let's see. It does work. Sometimes it's a little temperamental. I'm waiting for the little green box to automatically go around the barcode. Maybe it's not like that. Purple light was in there and done the after. 13 allowed you to use the native barcode scan function of iOS 7, but you can still use Bluetooth scanners and such. Focus. Yeah, I'm tapping it to focus. Maybe I'll test turn it.
That's good, that.
Yeah, a little light would help.
We're over here in the dark.
Yeah.
That's why people don't normally present live things. Oh, come on. You're not going to get better focus than that. I've got it upside down. Maybe that's working.
It knows you're presenting.
Yeah. You know, I tested it in the back during the... Well, anyways, you'll have to take my word for it. It does.
You didn't have so many people watching.
One of the things that I found when I do this kind of barcode scanning with a mobile device, the distance between your camera and your device and the barcode is important. There's a sweet spot in there. When you're doing a presentation, you never can find the sweet spot. So the way I get around that is I make this little stand out of toothpicks, so it's just the right height, and then I just have that on top of the thing, and then I lower my iPad on top of it, hit the button, and I can capture it. This was one of my honeydews from January. My wife had me cataloging the DVD collection.
Luckily, this is the only presentation I give that has any barcodes.
So did you use
Well, we've all
FileMaker?
been there, Mike. so
I was not using Filemaker, but I was using a device that's doing some of the stuff that FileMaker, what I was using is so limited compared to FileMaker. It's not funny, but I only wanted to do the one thing. Filemaker is used by some local businesses to empower their sales force, collecting information. Time is money. You want to give that customer that invoice right now because they paid it while the salesman was there or the service person was there. And having your data in a secure server setting, and people can access it from the mobile device, either customers and or your employees, that's very, very powerful. Okay, you need to talk now.
I was letting you know. So, one last time to demonstrate that kind of magic, I'm back here on the desktop, and you can see this record is already committed into my database, and I can already view it on the desktop.
So that's a big thing. You know, I didn't want to have to take my Mac Mini and web camera down to the family room, and I didn't want to lug all the DVDs up to where the Mac Mini was. And again, using the iPad as an empowered bar scanner, that's cool. Except for the fact that my wife kept complaining because I was going beep, 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 and she was trying to watch the
Silence that beep.
Olympics, I want to say. So I had to go in the other room then and do it. So again,
The Olympics were more important.
FileMaker Server, if you've got data that you need to organize and share, and you have data out there that you need to bring in and then organize and share out again, FileMaker Server, very, very powerful tool. What impresses me is that there's almost zero deployment costs with this. It just...
So let me wrap up kind of, because you had mentioned you're interested in seeing what it takes to actually develop a layout in FileMaker. So FileMaker's layout mode this is what a developer sees when he's putting it together. Exactly. Make that a little larger. You can see I did a little, off the developer. There's a developer area for you to store your objects if you don't want to use them or something. But let's say I want to put together a picture gallery of all of my photos, of all my movie photos. So I can do a new layout. I'm going to do, say, the gallery. It's on the printer. Let's say I'm going to use just none of these. So these labels. Actually, sorry. No FileMaker for developers ever will develop stuff live. There's like a cursor around it, so bear with me. So here's like my raw layout. Now from here I can go, I'm going to put a theme on this. Say, enlighten was the theme I was using. I'm going to tell my layout that I want to print it in 2 columns, going across first. You see that a lot of spacing here. And now I'm going to take my picture. I don't want any style on that frame, so sorry, it's kind of small to see. This is my picture field. So in my browse mode, I'll see a list of these, but when I go into my preview mode, you'll see I'm in a gallery. Now I can, print this. I can save this as a PDF natively. It's going to take care of that PDF generation for me in my movie gallery.
So I was timing you, that took you 32 seconds to do.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
And,
Yes,
but the
that's why
thing
it only
is,
took me 15 minutes.
with previous iterations of database and layout generators, that would have been maybe a 2 or 3 hour setup. I'm going
If I
back a
had
little
to-
bit farther than you are. But
If I had to program this in a code setting, say I wanted to program this into a website where I had to, make my tables, but I also had to make the construct for loading my picture data in and then doing a loop to iterate through the loop and build my table out, it would be 2 to 3 hours. And that was 30 seconds. So
Now, did you tell it where to pull those pictures in from?
I just used the same table. There's only one table in here, so if I look at my relational...
I missed where you told it to get them.
It's in the layout
Okay.
utility in the layout dialog
Alright.
box. When you do new layout, it's the first then show records from, and then you choose
Got
what
it.
table you want to show.
You're-
So I could make related data, like if I wanted to make a transactions table where, I'll show you how easy that would be. So if I want to make a table that's called as transactions. I'm just going to make a field that says, title. I'm going to make a, It's pretty easy here. Now what I can do, now that I have this second table here, is I can relate it to my title. And then I can allow, from my DVD collection, I can allow the creation of records in this transactions table from my DVD table. So these are now 2 separate banks of data that are now being related together. Don't worry that the relationship says it's many-to-many, it's actually one-to-many, but we're going to gloss over that. Normally I wouldn't use a text field as a relational key. So if I go back to my DVD collection now, let's say I want to, kind of expand this layout just a little bit. I want to make a new area called transactions. FileMaker has a built-in object called portal, where I can show my related transactions, say 10 rows of transactions. I'm going to sort portal by date out. And I can even make these like, I can make them date selection fields, drop down calendars. I can choose the format for the date, but only if I go back and set my transaction fields to be dates. So let's say I want to just leave it as, month, day, year as 2 characters. And that's it. So what do I do now? So I've got, cousin Eddie comes over, wants to borrow his namesake movie again. I can say, oh, he came over on the 8th. Check it out. I've just created a record in that transactions table through that relationship. So I can, then come back here and he checks it back in on the 10th, and then I can check it out again on the 11th, and back again on the 18th, and so on and so forth. So, did you time that one too?
No, I didn't. I'm going to say probably
Yeah, so
About 70 seconds.
in a
75.
couple minutes, I can kind of, start to build, powerful features into my application. And that's all done in real time. So when I went back into browse mode and this thing appeared on my screen, somebody that's connected in WebDirect, their screen just blinked and they got the new feature. Somebody on the iPad, their screen blinks and they get the new feature and they're able to use it straight up to that without needing to redeploy it to anybody. So that's, again, back to the FileMaker magic. So we're running short on time. Well, I wouldn't say short. I'm sure you probably have a couple questions. So I'll pop this back up. Questions and answers. All right.
I have two of them for you.
Okay.
First, I'm using a thing called FileMaker Pro 9. Is that the same company?
Same program, same company, older version.
Okay. Because I didn't see FileMaker Pro. The other thing, and probably more important to everybody else in the room, are you demonstrating things that you can do for us, or what is the learning curve for the person that,
First off, let me answer your first question. FileMaker Pro 9 is the regular desktop version of FileMaker. FileMaker Pro X 10, 11, 12, 13 is the regular desktop version. There's also what I'm using, which is FileMaker Pro Advanced, which is the developer's version that gives you a few debugging utilities and the ability to write your own custom functions for the calculation engine. So there's no real difference. The lowest desktop version you can buy is FileMaker Pro. It's just called FileMaker Pro. I just call it FileMaker because Pro is an extra word I don't want to have to say. It's usually shortened to FMP, FMP9. FMPA would be FileMaker Pro Advanced 9. So to answer your second question for the learning curve, it depends on the user. It really does. I came from a web development where I did both web design and raw web coding, so I caught on really quick. I went from complete novice, never having touched FileMaker, to expert in the field level, and I'm saying that because, well, people have called me an expert in the field, in 5 years. But that's with it being my primary job to do FileMaker development. For the casual user, I would say, FileMaker comes with a bunch of templates you can just use. So it comes with an inventory database that you can just make the inventory database and use it. So it's kind of has about 20 off-the-shelf solutions that you can just use. There's also separate off-the-shelf solutions you can buy that other developers make. We don't sell any off-the-shelf stuff. We sell custom development.
It sounds a little bit like the things you could share with Bento. You had templates out there and you could modify
Bento
them.
exchanged it, but Bento's gone. FileMaker here. Yeah, FileMaker used to make a product called Bento. It was kind of like FileMaker Lite. It was designed for people to put in their cooking recipes into a database or something like that. Ultimately it wasn't profitable, so it got the X. So we've done a couple Bento conversions into FileMaker. You can convert it into FileMaker, but Bento is past its life cycle and should no longer be expected to be used at all. But the learning curve, Bento was actually harder to develop in than it was to develop in FileMaker.
Yes.
So if you made your own themes and templates in Bento to share on the Exchange, FileMaker should be even easier to learn and use.
No, I did it the other way. We did it in FileMaker Pro, and then I brought Bento in thinking, well, this is going to be better for my application, and turned out that it was a nightmare. It's never used it.
It was only ever designed for, Susie's lemonade stand or my grandma's cooking recipes or something. It was more of a collections type of tracking app than it was a fully robust powered database.
Well, my interest in this morning, I keep the data for an alumni association. We have over 3,000 names in it. And with some help, we developed just the basic, here's all the information you want to know about it. Sure. And what I was looking at here is, would there be any advantage for me to upgrade this thing? And
it depends on what you want to do.
yeah, you'd have to.
I mean,
you'd
if
have
you-
to see my application to be able to tell me.
If you want to, I mean, FileMaker 9 supports custom web publishing, so you can already get a developer to build a website that pulls database information to the web to display like a roster, like a class roster, where you only display like first initial and last name or something. FileMaker 9 is still a very powerful program, but it's also out of date because the file format changed when 12 came out.
Yeah.
So it's already started to go by the wayside in terms of support. It still works, but it's not supported anymore, and that's
Right.
where it's kind of tricky. I'm going to go field you first, you second.
It's kind of like a two-part in the same issues in a way that I wanted to know on the standalone one that like what he's talking about that's, doesn't do the web-based stuff. Is there access to the web with that also or not? Or is it meant just to be for like a single user or something?
So FileMaker Pro will host a peer-to-peer network of up to 10 other FileMaker Pro users, but you all need to have FileMaker Pro installed. FileMaker Pro 13 will also share with up to one person on WebDirect, so you can share it like internally through like. So to answer your question, yes, you can have other people connect to it without having the server edition. But if you get any more than 5 users, you're going to want to set up with a server edition and a 5-pack. There's also FileMaker hosting companies out there that will host your FileMaker files that you create on their servers, so you can access it from anywhere with iPads or WebDirect or anything like that. It costs
What's the standalone version in your? How much does that run? How much is that?
So plain Jane copy of FileMaker Pro 13 will run you between $300 to $350.
I mean the other one for your computer, in your computer, not web-based.
That's what I'm talking about. FileMaker Pro 13 for my MacBook costs about $350.
What's the one he's talking about? 9.
That's just an older version.
Okay, and basically the big difference is it's not compatible or what?
No, the basic difference is there's been 5 releases of updates with new features and new. So WebDirect is new in 13. FileMaker 9 does not do WebDirect.
And the current generation data formats, which that's a big deal.
So is there, it looks like I don't need near that much power to begin with. But that's why I was looking for something like on the computer itself. I don't have to really share it, but I just wondered about that. How much is the older version still available?
They sell a downgrade license, but you have to buy the new copy to get the older copy. There might be like used software salesmen out there, but none of it's supported by FileMaker. So if something goes wrong and you need support from FileMaker to like re-pull your license key or something, like you lose your license. Like if I lose my license key to 12 or 13, I can call FileMaker and they'll send me an email with a key where I can download the software over again and have my key reinstalled. But if you buy a copy of FileMaker 9 and you throw your box away and you call FileMaker saying, hey, I lost my FileMaker 9 key, they're going to say, well, we can sell you a copy of FileMaker 13.
FileMaker 9 went end of life, I'm thinking 2003, 2004.
I would have
yeah,
to look up the
it's
dates.
old software. It's
not that far.
All right, maybe 2005, 2006, but they did 10, 11, 12, and now we're up to 13 in FileMaker.
Let me get to you and then your second.
And what I was going to say is that FileMaker does provide a lot of support. In fact, there's a webinar on Tuesday on WebDirect.
Given by a friend of mine, Richard Carlton. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's free, you can sign up for it, and it's usually an hour, and you get it on your computer. It's very helpful.
FileMaker has a mailing list you can get on where they'll notify you of events like this in your area, or webinars that are free to attend, so you can learn more about the FileMaker product line. So that would be an hour-long presentation specifically about WebDirect. But you may not learn too much new over what I showed you. I mean, you know what WebDirect is.
Yep, this is probably a very basic question. I just wondered, how do you get your data into FileMaker? I know you could type it in, I'm sure. Can you import it from a lot of other places?
So
how does that work?
FileMaker supports about 15 different database formats. It supports all text tab, comma delimited text files. It supports Excel. It supports DBF, which is a common database format. It unfortunately doesn't support MDB, which is Access, but Access is junk. But you can save your data from Access as CSV, and then Silk, FoxPro, and a couple of other different. Yes, you can import your data. So you can build. So if somebody gave me a list of movie titles, I could import that list of movie titles into my database, and it would display as records in my database.
So would FileMaker be a good tool for someone who wanted to build a large bibliographic database as opposed to EndNote or one of the other specialized programs for it?
Yeah. I mean, the theoretical record limit of a FileMaker database is 64 quadrillion records.
Oh, I wasn't so worried about that, is getting the specialized needs, that you have things to print out APC or
FileMaker is
ELA
used
or
in the
whatever.
medical field, the legal field, government. We do a lot of government work at Anvil. We've actually got a GSA schedule to do government work. It's got the security features built in on the platform, so it can be used by a community library, it can be used by a church, it can be used by an alumni association, it can be used by your Kettering Foundation. It can be used, there's a bazillion different uses. If you have a need for custom software, and by software I'm meaning any sort of program that isn't covered by just entering your data manually in Excel. So like Excel, you can't do a find and say, I want to see all my records that were created in January of 2013. You can't do that in Excel. You can do a find for January 1st, and it'll take you to a row where that date appears, but it won't return to you a found set of results, a query. So if you need to query data or build reports on your data, then FileMaker is a much better option than like just trying to put your data somewhere in like Excel.
And you can automate report generation.
You can script reports, so you press a button and it pulls up the report time after time after time. And you can, if you've got the hosted version, you can build a script that does it automatically, so you just need to click the PDF in your inbox every morning and see it.
Where do we go on the internet to learn more?
My last slide. Further reading. So anvildataworks.com is our website. If you are interested, please feel free to write down my email address. I can put you in touch with our sales team. We do custom development from the smallest to the largest projects. We do bento conversions. We just finished a FileMaker 6 to version 13 conversion. So we do conversions if you're interested in converting your database to the latest version. Filemaker.com is the official site. TechNet is the FileMaker developers community. If you plan to play around in FileMaker, sign up for TechNet, because I guarantee you, if you post a question on there asking how to do something in FileMaker, it's going to be answered within like 4 hours. It's a great community. There's over 50,000 members now, and there's tons of active posters, including myself. And then if you're really taking FileMaker serious and you want a good vacation, FileMaker DevCon is the FileMaker hosted week-long seminar of just session after session, 4 sessions per day for 3 days. It's in San Antonio, Texas this year, but you can learn more about FileMaker in 1 week than you're ever going to learn by reading community forums or there's about 1,500 developers that all show up, developers and users. There's an important distinction there. There's developers and users of FileMaker. So I'm a developer. I make the software for people to use. There's also people that their sole purpose is to just use FileMaker. And there's things for them to train themselves onto. So users can train themselves to make their own, build their own queries, build their own reports. FileMaker has some built-in features, but we're already out of time. So I'll take